There we go.
Cool. We should all be live now. So yeah, this is our full-time live. We should be live after we eventually got there. This is our full-time live after the Sheffield United Fulham game. Obviously ended in a 1-1 draw up at Bramall Lane, the first of the so-called pay-per-view games. But how many people really paid for the pay-per-view, I don't know. As you can see, yeah, we're getting some numbers in here. But yeah, I'm Don Betts, as you know. This is the Fulhamish YouTube channel, and well, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. But joining me for this is Jack Kelly.
Oh, you're right.
And Nathan Martin.
Hello.
So while we wait for a few more people to come in, it was a bit of a weird game because obviously if we're looking just towards the end, we'd probably say that we were probably hard done by not to get the game, and as we'll get into it, just wasn't Mitrovic's day today. But in that first half, it was cagey at times, and if Mitrovic, if it wasn't the Mitrovic that was today, I reckon he would have buried a lot of those Sheffield United chances in the first half. So if you look at the first 15-20 minutes of the first half, Jack, we started the game pretty well.
Yeah, we had a good chance with Kearney early on, and obviously it was a really good save and nice curling effort from Kearney. But apart from that, we struggled to penetrate, and Sheffield United pinned us in, and their overlapping fullbacks were getting crossed in the box and causing us all manner of problems. And we did look a little shaky at times, but we rode at a bit of a storm. I'm pleased we came out of that first half 0-0, but no, they put the ball in the net. It was offside. We caught them offside. I think we're playing quite a high line, so we caught them offside many times. But yeah, the passing lanes for us were they were getting blocked off. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kearney, they couldn't quite get into it. And Guisa got a really early yellow as well, which doesn't help. And yeah, Mitrovic was really isolated and couldn't really get anything out of the game. I think Sheffield United played really well the first 25 minutes.
Nathan, so if we look at the lineup, obviously it was you would say it was a sort of 4-2-3-1 with Loftus-Cheek a lot further forward than Kearney and Anguissa, with sort of Cavallero and Ademola Lookman each side with Mitrovic up top. What did you make of the lineup when it was announced by Scott an hour before the game?
I think the only thing I would have preferred is, and I sort of still hold to this at the end of the match, would have been to drop Cav. Like Cav has not been on good form most of the season. He's a liability. Giving away Cavallero giving it away cheaply is sort of a refrain that you'd be drunk if you were doing a drinking game every time that the announcer said that. But otherwise, I liked the squad. I thought it was a good lineup. It was nice and strong. I don't know how you guys saw it, but it did seem like Ruben looked good at the start and looked really bright, kind of strong. Nice to have him supporting Kearney and Anguissa, and then he went missing for a large portion of the game. Like you saw him a lot in the first, I think, 15 minutes or so, and then he just went missing. And so, it was a good lineup. I like the intent. I like Tosin back there with Ream. I thought they actually worked pretty well together. The communication will get better. Anthony Robinson just looks class. I mean, he's probably one of the better signings I think that we've had in a while. Gets up forward well. On the other side, Aina, or however you say his name, Aina, he's getting there. Still has a mistake in him, but it wasn't a bad side, and we came out pretty well before we sort of slipped back into our old ways.
Yeah, so obviously we spoke about our strong start, but then in the second half of the first half, Sheffield United had a lot of chances, which. I mean, if they had Mitrovic up front, probably not the Mitrovic of today, but if they had the usual Mitrovic up front, he would have probably buried a lot of them. Ollie McBurney could have scored about 3 in that first half. Do you think, Jack, that was just down to obviously there being a new sort of this back four haven't exactly played together before? So do you think that was something to do with it, the communication, or do you think Sheffield United were just carving us quite easily down the wings?
I think a bit of both. You know what you're going to get with Sheffield United, the overlapping fullbacks. We saw it plenty of times last season. We saw it in the Championship. We saw it in League One. But yeah, Adebayo and Ream. Adebayo's only been here 10 days or so, and they need to get to know each other. They need to get to know what they do at the back and how they communicate. And yeah, for times it was a bit of a, like I said, a storm from Sheffield United. They kept whacking balls into the box, and Areola, we have to give praise to him against Wolves today. He was absolutely fantastic, and if it wasn't for him, we could have been 2 or 3 down at half time. And look, I think on the balance of play, a draw is a result that I think we'll take, but the circumstances, we'll get onto it later. Oh God, I feel sick about it, really.
Jack, I think it's interesting looking at the comments coming in because obviously people are frustrated with Mitro. And we're going to talk about that. But I think Alim Sheikh or his point or his or her point, I can't tell which one it is because it's a double picture on there. But that we need a second striker to give Mitro a bit of a break. He's worked incredibly hard. I don't think it's that he really let us down. I don't lose any faith in him. But if you have someone who's given that many minutes and expected to fly around, sometimes just even mentally, they're not quite there. And I don't think he had a particularly bad game. It's just not quite that extra little bit that you'd usually expect out of him. And so we need to give him a bit of a break, and I wouldn't overreact to one match. Yeah. But we do need to give him a bit of a break.
Yeah, I think with Mitrovic, I think that's one area you can look in the transfer window where we should have backed Scott Parker up, because our only backup options to play out front are Abubakar Kamara and Bobby Decordova-Reid, whose best positions for us probably aren't through the middle anyway. If it is with Bobby Decordova-Reid, it's in the midfield or in the number 10 position where Loftus-Cheek was playing today, as opposed to being an actual number 9. So I was surprised we didn't go in for someone like Josh King, or we've seen today that Danny Welbeck's joined Brighton on a free transfer. So I was surprised in the transfer we didn't go in. But yeah, he has played a lot. He has played a lot of football. He's one of Serbia's main players, and they had a massive playoff semi-final, which obviously they're through. They'll be facing Scotland next month, which will be very, very interesting. Mitrovic trying himself against Steve Clark's side. I think are in their best run of form since 1980s. But yeah, we're going on a tangent. So we go into half time, 0-0. I was quite nervous at half-time because of how the first half ended. But I think half-time definitely came at a good time for us, because it allowed ourselves to sort of reset and then sort of approach second half in a much more positive manner, because the end of the first half, as I said, they were peppering our goal quite a lot. They had probably 3 big chances, quite a few for Burnley, as you spoke to. Arolo made these big saves. What do you think changed in the second half? Do you think it was just having that sort of break to reanalyze things and then go again in the second half? Jack, I'll go with you.
I think we committed a little bit more on the counter attack. I think that when we would bomb forward, we'd have Lookman, we'd have Anguissa, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kenny all running forward, and actually that was a really good outlet for us, and we actually looked really dangerous. And we had an opportunity early in the first half where there was a 4-on-2, and we didn't even create anything from it. It was a cross from Caballero, who I don't think it was even reaching Loftus-Cheek. It was a bit of a waste. We looked a little bit more solid, a little bit more robust. We were overturning the ball quite nicely. And I actually don't think the back four really put a foot wrong today. The goal we conceded will obviously come onto it. Wasn't any of their fault. And I think we gave it a bit of a go in the second half and actually realised we can get at this Sheffield United defence, because they play with such an attacking outlet with fullbacks. There is space to break in behind, and it just so happened that we had the pace with the break. We just couldn't take the opportunity. That was our issue in the second half.
So if we get on to Nathan, if you wanted.
No, I was just going to agree with Jack. I think, actually this is probably, there's 3 players that are settling in. I think Kearney, I don't know how you feel, but I think this is probably one of his better performances. He was very bright, showed up in terms of defending, but then also works really well with Anguissa and Lookman. There's a nice little interchange, and there were some nice passes. He had a couple nice shots, and it felt a bit more like the Kearney of old. And it sort of feels like that trio, with the exception, I would drop Cav, but those 3 work really well together. And with Anthony Robinson bombing up that left side, it's a really dangerous, and it's very hard to defend, which obviously led, to sort of some of the chances in the second half.
Well, yeah, if we look at Will Leon's comment here on our Facebook about Kearney looking revitalised and midfield support around him. One thing I will say about Kearney today is it was definitely a game he grew into in the first 30 minutes, first half. Really, I thought he was playing the right passes, but I feel like he was slowing things down, and we were playing quite counter-attacking for a lot of the game. So I think that although his performance overall was probably better than what we have seen, I think in regards to the speed that we were playing, I think he sometimes did slow it down. But I think in the second half we did definitely see a better Kearney than in the first half. But yeah, he definitely looks better when he has legs of the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and obviously Anguissa around him. So if we get on to our penalty, which so if we start on it's an obvious handball. Andre Mariner saw it straight away. Obviously, he did consult VAR, but he didn't need to change his decision. So he pointed to the penalty. Well, yeah, it's a clear handball. But I think Jack Robinson, I think it was. Yeah. But yeah, his arms like up there.
He's been watching Top Gun too much, trying to play some volleyball.
His arm was in a completely unnatural position, and yeah, penalty. And Mitrovic steps up, and I don't get this. I don't understand how a professional footballer can't put a penalty on target.
Yeah.
I know he's going down the middle and trying to hit it in top of the net, but if he's going down the middle, you don't need. If the keeper stays in the middle, he's going to save it anyway. Like, it's not going to go over his head. It's not going to go over Ramsdale's head. I find it baffling that professional footballers can't put a penalty on target. And to be fair, Ramsdale committed. I can't remember which way he dived, left or right, but he did commit. Left. So he committed to his left very early. And so it's not like he was waiting to see what Mitrovic was going to do. He did commit to that left-hand side quite early. So I just find it baffling that a player of Mitrovic's quality is unable to put, a shot on target from 8 yards out.
Dom, there's so many problems with this penalty. It's the fact that there's no run-up, and yet his intention is to smash it with no backlift, which is always not going to work. I mean, he got completely under it. He leant back. And like you said, Ramsdale committed himself. So just roll it in. Yeah. Literally roll it in. He's trying to do what Jamie Vardy did. He did what Billy Sharp did later in the game. Like, you can't just smash it. If the keeper commits, just hit it in. It's so easy. And his penalty against Leeds away was rubbish. Still went in. His penalty against Cardiff was very good last season. His penalty at home to Leeds in the Championship was awful, but still went in. Mitrovic should not be taking penalties for us. It should be Tom Cairney. It should be Tom Cairney, I think. I'm just so frustrated because it's easy. It's easy to score. And because the keeper commits, it makes it even easier, and he doesn't score. And
this is where I prefer, he's obviously lining up on the other side, but this is what I liked about Norwood is I just think it's so underrated to have a player who just basically can pass it into the net, right? Like if the keeper guesses right and goes full extension and manages to, stretch and knock that low hit ball to the corner out, fair enough. But the majority of the time, the keeper is not going to be able to do that. And Norwood's sort of technique worked really well for us the year that we went up. And we need someone that just is reliable in that manner. And, I was trying to think about outside of Cairney. I'm not sure Cairney would be the best for PKs, but you need someone who's just got a bit of experience to be reliable. I'm not sure who that is, who else we'd have in the squad that you could rely on for that.
Yeah, as long as we don't have a 16-17 and miss about 25 penalties.
Right.
It will be all forgiven and Mitrovic buries his next one. But obviously, so he misses the penalty, he hits the crossbar. I don't know how you can not put a penalty on target if you're a professional footballer. But we move on. So obviously the next part of the game, I guess we can talk about is our goal with Ademola Lookman, who I thought again was outstanding today. Whenever he's played this season, I think he's been amazing. Probably our best attacker, if not our best player. Absolutely great the way. So I know you got a bit lucky with the deflection, but it's still an absolutely great finish, Nath.
Yeah, and he just deserves it. I mean, he has looked just unreal value for money coming in, and just his fitness level is the only thing getting him up to speed. But he will be one of the first names on Scott's team sheet going forward with this sort of form, and he opens up so much for us. His sort of deception, the way that he had that pass that he made, I forget who it was to, maybe it was Cairney, where he just kind of hit it on the outside of his foot into the box, and we almost had a second. But his ability to read the pitch, to roll players, to sort of have a little bit of deception, a little bit of guile. It's everything that Cavallero wishes that he was, but in a smaller, more efficient sized individual. And that goal, yes, he got a little bit lucky, but you make your own luck. And when you run at players, the same thing for Cabano, but in the playoff run, when you run at players, when you make decisions have to happen. I think actually Anguissa did this pretty well. He held it a little bit too long today, but he also did that. And I'm all for players sort of, pushing it, making defenders make a decision. And that finish, whatever the luck that he had to get through there, like, my goodness, like that is how you finish a strike.
I was going to say,
the way, even if there was another chance towards the end of the game where he could have got a winner for us, he does hit the ball with some power. He's not exactly one who tries to place it in the far post. He's definitely got a bit of power on him. And I think it's good to see Lookman get his first goal, because obviously when he first joined RB Leipzig on loan, I think the only player in the league for that 6 months who had a better goal to minute ratio was like Robert Lewandowski, because he kept coming off the bench and just banging in goals for RB Leipzig. But it's good to see him get on the score sheet, Jack. Do you think, obviously, apart from Mitrovic, he could be a key asset for us when it comes to goals this season?
Yeah, I think he's now our most important player going forward, apart from Mitrovic. And I think if he plays wide or just in off Mitrovic, just behind him, then we're going to create a lot of chances with his pace. What's interesting about our goal is it comes from a Cavallero La Croqueta, where he gets the ball, and I'm like, oh, please, just move it on. And he tries his skill, and it actually comes off, would you believe it? And then he plays it wide. The thing about Lookman is he'll get himself in a tight area like he did with the goal and still get out of it somehow. and it's classic cage football kind of that mentality. And I think it was fantastic. The goal, the finish was almost like Ryan Sessegnon's hat-trick goal at Bramall Lane in the 5-4. But I can't believe we didn't win the game. It's so it's a great.
Like I say, it is frustrating because I know obviously we spoke earlier about the first half and how we could have been 2 or 3 down there, but in the second half, we were the only team that looked like they wanted to win the game.
And especially even when it went into added time, we were the only ones looking to win it, and that is great intent. Especially, I think Sheffield United were definitely playing for the point after they equalised.
Exactly, yeah.
It was their mentality. We want to get out of this relegation dogfight, and look, they're trying to.
Because I said the Areola in the second half compared to the first half really didn't have that much to do. I mean, the big save he did make, they were offside anyway. So yeah, I said we look like the team who wanted to win the game today. So obviously we go 1-0 in the lead, and then if we move on to
you also had before that, Kearney just about puts us up 2-0 with that strike, which goes full out, and I think that was right after Lamina had come on, which I was. I was like, why have we brought in Lamina? But he actually played really well.
Yeah, no, he added a bit more, I guess, stamina and fitness into midfield with the legs sort of running out of Anguissa and Kearney. But yeah, if we move on to their penalty, I don't really know if you can put a blame on anyone for this, because obviously Areola, I don't think it's a mistake from Areola when he misses the ball. You see a lot of goalkeepers miss balls at corners. I mean, all you need to do is look at some of the goalkeeping in the Premier League yesterday. But yeah, I think
Dom, it's very unlucky.
Yeah, he's very unlucky. And then Mitrovic, what else is Mitrovic going to do there? He has to swing his foot. He's just unlucky that the timing slightly off and he ends up hitting the player. It is a penalty. It's just quite unlucky from us because it's not really a mistake that's caused it.
I actually called it. I was watching it with my brother, and as soon as he cleared it, I saw him clatter him, and I went, "They're going to call this back for a penalty. It doesn't matter what happens here," because that happened at Bournemouth Burnley last season, where someone scored and they actually brought it back for a VAR penalty. Well, obviously we didn't score in that. Look, the only thing I could say about that Mitrovic shot is he could have headed that away, but he's going for the ball and he's trying to clear it, obviously, to get it away from danger. It's unlucky he's second. He's not gone in with intent to try and wipe out the man. It's just who gets to the ball first. It's a Sheffield United player, and it is a foul because he's made contact inside the box. Man goes down, penalty, and Billy Sharp does.
I'm just glad we didn't end up scoring on a counter attack.
Yeah, that would
making it 2-0, then that getting wiped off, and then Billy Sharp obviously steps up and shows Mitrovic how to take a penalty by smashing it into the back of the net. I think Billy Sharp had hardly been on the pitch that long before he put that penalty away. But yeah, obviously that made it 1-1. But again, after that, we were playing the same as we were before. We weren't all out attack, but we were definitely attacking Sheffield United more than they were attacking us, and we were probably unfortunate not to get a winner in the end. There was the two Mitrovic headers. The first one, which the one just when the ball sort of came in and he headed it down. If it was any other day, Mitrovic will probably score that. If it was any other day, Mitrovic could probably have had a hat trick today, because then there's obviously a second header which then was dragged wide. But yeah, I guess it just wasn't his day today, was it, Nath?
I think it's marginal gains. It's like little things, and you cannot. We don't know football. You can look at the stats. You can look at kind of all the things in the world. You can do all the sort of training, strength, etc. But I think, when you're a little bit tired, you've been jerked around a little bit. And you also think about the COVID protocols, like if you're going, from bubble to bubble, there's all the things that Mitro is being put through. I think there's probably about maybe 5% that he's less of his Mitro self today. And it means that maybe he doesn't get away with the penalty, which he does in a normal setting where he's not the best, but he probably would have, just hit it down the middle. It means that maybe he misses a couple of those headers where he normally puts those away. Those are not easy chances. One of them should have been put in a way. The other one was not easy. And I also think, it means that maybe he's just half a step off on that penalty on the other side. And so for me, Mitro needs a bit of rest. He needs a big, pat on the back from Scott. He's obviously angry with himself. You could see, that's the sort of image of the game of him putting his arms up in the air. But it's just not his day. But we kept playing very bright. We kept attacking. Sheffield United were going to the corner with like 5 minutes to go, or they were really bottle or sort of shutting it down early, and I thought we were the most likely to score. So it's a long season. We should have had 3 points today, but building off the Wolves game, we're going in the right direction. When you start adding people like Lookman, even Lamina and Anguissa just continues to be incredibly good value for our squad. We're growing into the season, and that, interestingly enough, could not be said for Sheffield United. They still haven't really found their form, and they don't look to find their form anytime soon.
Yeah, they look very sort of turgid today. I don't know if people maybe understand the way they're playing. They're not as effective anymore, but they don't seem to have the zip that they had last season. Last season they were getting the ball from one side to the other so quickly. It was quite turgid and passive from them today. Obviously they had the chance in the first half, which they were creating down the side, but apart from that, yeah, it wasn't the Sheffield United we used to last season. I said a week to our next game will probably help Mitrovic just so he doesn't have to play a midweek game, and that's because he was starting a lot of those. He started a few of those cup games as well. So, and September was such a hectic month. There was the international break before the season started. Then there was like games. It was like the championship. It was like Saturday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Wednesday every week. September. Obviously, this month's a bit quieter, so that'll probably help our players in regard to their fitness. But yeah, overall, when the full-time whistle went, obviously it was disappointment because we know we could have won the game. Maybe not, I say we should have won the game because I think, as I said, Sheffield United could have been 2 or 3 up in the first half. But it was a game where a point's good. We finally get a point on the board in the Premier League this season, but we really could have got more out of the game. But yeah, I think if we're looking at the positives from the game, obviously Adam and Lookman again, fantastic.
Yeah.
Our midfield looked quite, I'd say, fluid. The three of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Anguissa and Kearney seemed to work very well in the second half, and because you were seeing these bombing on runs from Anguissa in the second half when obviously Sheffield United were pushing up a bit more, and Anguissa's going to be basically running his legs off the entirety of the game. But if I'm looking at it, I might be looking at if Harrison Reed is fit, would I bring him in for Tom Kearney? I think in the first half, I definitely would have said that. Second half, I thought Kearney's a bit better. Because there's not really one holding midfielder there. They're sort of both occupying that space in the middle of the park and keeping the midfield together. Again, Anthony Robinson, who we haven't really spoke too much about him today, but again, Joe Bryan, I think, could move into this team as a left winger instead of Cavallero. I think that would offer us a better outlet. And at left back, I think Anthony Robinson is definitely an upgrade, especially defensively. He looks very strong as well. He doesn't seem to get caught out of position too much.
And I really appreciated. There were a couple of times where you could see the Sheffield players looking for the dive, looking for the to draw a foul, especially towards the end of the game. And Robinson keeps his feet. He really has a good kind of vision on it. I think he's also one of those players. He's got speed. He's willing to attack players, which I love. But I think also with the communications and kind of joining the dots up a bit more, that'll happen as the team grows on. My only really question was just whether Scotty could have made a sub a bit earlier. Like, we always joke about the aid to the back, and Scott really held off on his subs, and Lamina looked fine when he came on. But I do wonder if you sort of put maybe Maxime Marchand back there to give, and so Mitro is not having to go up against that to try to clear the lines. Maybe we don't have that happen. It's one of those things where Scott likes to hold his subs for a bit longer, and you never know for sure. But I sort of wonder if it might have cost us 2 points today.
I'm not sure why Cavallero keeps getting 90 minutes.
Right.
I don't get it. There are better options. You've got Niska Skabano, who, to be fair, when he's played this season, has looked perfectly fine. You've got Joe Bryan, who we played at left wing, I think, a couple of once or twice this season. Was it because it was his birthday present?
Did you say this, Jack? Know. He's like Hannah Chocolat without the chocolate. Just not.
What annoys me is that game was crying out for a boo because we were absolutely on the counter every 2-3 minutes, and a boo Kamara running down the right hand side would have offered us an option. I know he might have not had the end product, but at least it would have got us in behind. And I just think that Cavallero, he gets the ball and he goes, "Oh, what can I do now? How can I impress with my tricks and flicks?" It's very boring and quite tedious actually, and I'm annoyed at Cavallero again.
Yeah, I guess that's another area where we could have strengthened also. Like that's why I saw someone as Josh King, as we spoke of earlier, would have been a good addition just because he can play at one. I know he doesn't like to, but he can play at one. He can also play through the middle. Another player I want to touch on is obviously Tosin Adarabioyo, making his Premier League and Fulham debut today. Nath, what do you make of his debut? Do you think he looked good with Tim Ream in the back?
Yeah, I don't know how you felt, but like after the sort of the less than great start to the season that Hector has had, it was a breath of fresh air to see him on that back line. He had a couple, little tiny mix-ups, but those are just communication things where you're settling into a new squad. But you could see the class, and I actually thought it was interesting because I think Ream had one of his better performances today because he's got that pairing with him who's a little bit sure. I thought Ream actually probably played the best that he's played in the Premier League. Period. He was winning some headers. It was we saw some mistakes, and he gives me a lot of confidence to have that. He just looks like he is Premier League ready. ready to come into the side. And I don't know how you guys feel as well, but like watching Kepa yesterday again, like we are in such a good position to have Areola between the sticks.
Kepa wouldn't make our bench.
Yeah, but like if we had Kepa between the sticks, we would have been down 4 or 5, nil. I mean, Areola, we all love Rodak, but my goodness, he that back line, there's a lot of signs of promise there.
Yeah. I think as compared to obviously we did concede quite a few goals in the opening few games, but I think in the last 2 games we've definitely seen a lot more defensive stability and a lot more strength at the back. And so if we talk about one of the other defenders we haven't really touched on is Ola Aina. However
you say it. Which apparently he couldn't even get his name right, like when his dad.
So what did you make of him today? Obviously, he was playing quite a different role to what Robinson was on the other side.
Yeah.
He wasn't bombing down the entirety of the wing. He was it's a bit what we saw sort of last season at times, where Cyrus Christie wouldn't necessarily be bombing on, or Adoy wouldn't be bombing on all the time. They'd be staying back. But what did you make of his performance today, Jack?
I thought he was quite solid actually. Didn't really make any mistakes. He was kind of sloppy in possession a couple of times. He sometimes rushes his clearances and gives the ball straight away. And his end product in terms of crossing has been a bit meh. He had a crossing situation which was just skimmed. It was like a daisy cutter into the box. But apart from that, I don't think he really put a foot wrong defensively. I don't think the whole back four put a foot wrong defensively, apart from maybe Mitrovic with the penalty. And I say we kind of kept a clean sheet in that kind of sense because their goal was a penalty. But in terms of the back four, it was fine. But Ola Aina is getting better and better. I remember his first game against Brentford, he was really poor. And Wolves, he was better. And today, he improved. So obviously, we'd love to see Kenny Tete at right back. I think him and Robinson bombing forward would be quite nice. But I was impressed with Aina today. And I think that, he deserved a decent 7 out of 10 performance.
Yeah, so if we look ahead to what's obviously upcoming for us, obviously we play Palace next Saturday at home, obviously at Craven Cottage. Then we travel to West Brom and then we play West Ham after that. And I think is it Tottenham after
Everton.
Everton, that's it. Where I can't
just Dominic, excuse me, Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin's gonna just cause us a lot of troubles, and James Rodriguez as well. But if you look at the Palace game, obviously they're playing Brighton today in their so-called derby.
1-0 Palace.
1-0 Palace. Because they've had a good start to the season, I will say, with Palace. Roy Hodgson's definitely, they look better than he did last season. To be fair, I think they had a sort of bit of an issue that we had in 12-13 where, I remember us beating QPR 3-2, and obviously we went 3-0 up in that game, and then that basically secured our survival, and then we didn't win again until the last game of the season away at Swansea. It sort of lifted us to like 12th, 13th place, and then obviously 13th, 14th was next season. Obviously we went down. So do you think we can get something against Palace next week?
Yeah, I think we can. What you get from a Roy Hodgson team is a very, very solid back four, and banks of four like we saw at Fulham.
I was saying because obviously we remember what happened last time on the opening day where we were quite positive, and we basically got Roy Hodgson, basically what we were used to seeing for many years down at Craven Cottage.
What concerns me now about Crystal Palace is that they've improved on last season, of which they've got better outlets going forward. They've got obviously Wilfred Zaha, they've got Ayew, and now they've got Abari Eze, who can literally, his ball control, his ball attention is unbelievable going forward. So it's all about whether we can break down this Palace team. And if we just whack balls into the box towards Mitrovic and obviously get Lookman in and around the box, and I think we've got a chance to spin a couple of defenders. But yeah, it could be a slow one. It could be slow in the build-up like we saw today in the first half. And that's what concerns me most about Fulham. It's when we've got a chance to go forward, we don't take it. We go back and it kind of lets them reset and start again. But in terms of Palace, they'll be very rigid. They'll be very hard to break down. But it's just where we have that quality in the final third. And then obviously catch and obviously wet. Making sure we don't get caught out on the break like we did last time.
Yeah, Nath, if we're looking at the Palace game, would you be looking to make any real changes to the side apart from, I guess you'd say, someone in for Cavallero?
Yeah, I mean that's my constant until we get a better. I've seen the comments that apparently Steve's saying that Scott said that Cav was better than AK. Maybe for the start, but I can't see it for 90 minutes. And with Palace, I think the thing we know about Hodgson is just we can't make stupid mistakes. We can't get caught out. Zaha's, already scored a penalty today. And I think for us, if that back four and Areola can just be calm, not give anything stupid away, settle into the game. If we're, 0-0 at 20 minutes in, then we're going to be in an okay situation. And, if we go all out and then concede an early goal like we did in the first couple of games, Palace won't throw away a lead like that against us. So for us, it's really about kind of settling into the game, letting Anguissa, letting Lookman grow into it, and then just taking our chances, making sure Mitro is rested. But that's the other thing, is if we're not just having to pound the ball into Mitro, if we have some threat on the outside, if Anguissa, if Lookman, if Robinson are able to make some nice runs, then it opens up some space for Mitro, and good things can happen. By the way, I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't mind some of these longer shots. I thought Ramsdale played really well for Sheffield United today. And, you could see someone like Kepa, or you could see another keeper spilling a few of those shots forward where something good can happen. So I don't mind that sort of mixture.
Yeah, I would say one of Aaron Ramsdale's biggest assets is probably his reactions. As we saw that chance, was it Lookman? Or when he completely dived across and saved it. Interesting point here actually made by Staff Open on YouTube. I'll get up on the screen now. It's about Jonama, because he is probably fifth choice centre midfielder now. We're thinking you got Kearney, got Anguissa, got Harrison Reed, you've got Mara Lamina. What do you think he's going to get much game time this season, Jack?
Oh, I don't know, because obviously now Loftus-Cheek's coming as well. So I feel a bit sorry for him, because he was really, really good in the second half of the season. He basically single-handedly got us a really good place in the playoff semi-final against Cardiff. And this is the problem. You've got this kind of seesaw kind of situation, the scales, where you go up, and do you trust the players that got you up, or do you recruit and get new players in? And it seemed like we were sticking with the midfield three the first couple of games, and then obviously now the players are coming in and taking their place. Look, Josh just needs to keep working hard. I think he's injured at the moment. He just needs to keep working hard, and he might get 30 minutes. I don't think he's a starter. I think he can come off the bench and maybe do a job. But for now, we've got better midfielders, I'm afraid, and I think they have better quality, and that's what we need in this Premier League season.
So to conclude this full-time live, we've been going for over half an hour now. I think we've covered all the main points throughout the game. Obviously, this will be available on our YouTube channel, obviously after being live as well. So if you missed any parts, you can make sure you can go watch them as well. But yeah, to conclude, Jack, what are your sort of overrun thoughts from the game today, and sort of looking ahead to our upcoming fixtures?
It's going to be hard to take, I think. The fact that we missed a penalty, the fact that we gave away a penalty VAR and it was a delayed decision, and I'm going to find this quite hard to get over. And it reminds me of Brighton away a little bit. Mitrovic giving away a very silly penalty and it costing us 2 points. But overall, we played very, very well, especially in the second half. I know Ademola Lookman is a real talent, a real good player, and I'm really happy to have him at the club. But we need 3 points now. We need to get 3 points from Palace and West Brom. And, if we get 4 points from those two games, I think I'd be a little bit more confident that we could stay up.
What about you, Nath?
Yeah, I just keep going back. I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat of you guys. Like, the start of this year has just been like, punched to the nuts or the stomach over and over again, right? Like, it's just a bit depressing. And even the Wolves, like, I'm tired of moral victories, right? Like, you want the 3 points. So today, getting a point, look, actually, in a Premier League, if you go and you get 3 at home and take 1 away, you're going to probably stay up and you're going to be okay. That was 3 points waiting for us. And so, like Jack said, it's going to be hard to get over. I think the one thing that I take consolation is I'm starting to see components of the side that are Premier League quality. And so that back line, you see some of the midfielders. Anguissa is genuinely, would get into many of the sides in the top half of in the table. And that gives me a lot of encouragement. The other thing that gives me encouragement is I think Scott, we give him grief for some of his tactics. We give him grief for some of the substitutes at times. But it is a long season, and the players have got to believe in their manager. They have to all, put in a shift together. And that is the encouraging thing, is that we see them working very hard together. They're tracking back. They're doing what he asked them. And even though they're going to hold their heads a bit, especially Mitro, I have no doubt that they're going to come back out and play really well. And if you have a club that has the talent and that at least buys into that vision, it gives you a chance, as you see with like Burnley or some of the other sides, to stay up. And so, if Scott can get a couple of those results to go, if we can, nick 3 points in a few cases, we could be in a good position by Christmas. We've obviously missed some chances, but the reality is as well, is that Villa is better. It seems to be better than what people realized. Arsenal are not a bad squad, right? So dropping, Leeds, that was a crazy game. So yes, maybe we should have had points out of those, but the table is, I think, going to be very different this year than we expected. And so we're going to have to pick up 3 points in places that we would not normally expect. And if we can do that, if we can stick with Scott and we cannot panic, then we have a chance.
Yeah, I was going to say my own thoughts from today was it's great we finally got a point on the board. I think the longer you go without getting anything, the harder it's going to be. Obviously, it's disappointing because we really could have won the game today. We sort of held them at bay in the first half, where they had a lot more pressure towards our goal. But yeah, it's disappointing. There are positives as we've spoken about to take from this game, but as Nathan said, I know it's only 4, 5, 6 games into the season, but it is getting to the point where it's cool that there's positives to take, but realistically,
Right.
you take 3 points over positives from a game. Like if we didn't deserve anything but had one shot, one on target, and we won 1-0 today, I think we'd be like, yeah, that's fine. We won a game. Like who cares? So I think these games against Palace, against West Brom, West Ham sort of looked a bit more of an improved side after their first couple of defeats. So it's going to be tough. But I think, especially that West Brom game is going to be big. Winning there, I think, is key. Just because obviously it'll be getting a win on the board, and hopefully we win against Palace as well. But it'll be getting obviously 3 points off a relegation rival who we'd expect to be a relegation rival. I think most people are expecting us and West Brom to be 2 of the 3 teams to go down. But I think we showed today that we can compete. We're not just here to be whipping boys again like we were a couple of years ago. So no, I think overall there's positive to take from today, but it's unfortunate we couldn't get a win. It's only a point, but it is a point on the board. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in today, whether you're tuning on YouTube, Twitter, /Periscope or Facebook. Thanks for all your comments. Nice to see people basically arguing about Cav over on Facebook. That's great to see all you guys interacting together. But yeah, this has been the Full-Time Live. I've been Dom Betts, been with Jack Kelly.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And Nathan Martin. Make sure to stay tuned, obviously, on our Twitter accounts and social media, because there will be a podcast about tonight's game going up over the next day or so. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But yeah, this has been Full-Time Live, just on the Fulhamish YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.